This is the Intelligent Human Voice Podcast Network. I'm your host, the PatMan, from the Bay to LA and beyond. We're doing something a little different today. We're having technical difficulties, so we're going to work off the Tascam recorder and upload later, or if you listen to it now, upload now. In the house, we have holistic nutritionist Harvey Slater.
That's me.
We met a few years ago, and Harvey is a chef as well, and he's here at the show today. We're going to talk about his websites, what he's doing in the communities to get people back in the flow, and this is the perfect time because this is New Year's resolution time. Everybody sets their goals and whatnot, and good to have you on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
It's been a while.
It's great to be here. I love coming to your rad loft downtown.
The Pat Cave, to the Pat Cave.
It's awesome.
Thank you, man. Good to be here.
Cool. So ask me anything.
So yeah, going to ask you anything. New Year's resolution. I know you're getting a lot of requests from a few of your clients on, what can I do moving forward in the new year? This is a new me. I want to be a new me. Where do they start with all this? I know a lot of folks want to detox and they want to, but from what I understand, even as a chef and someone who's watching my own diet, you kind of take baby steps. You start here and just kind of work your way in. What have you been discovering from your community of folks who want to dive into the New Year's on the newness?
All right. So I'm going to run with the New Year's topic because that's always a really good one.
Awesome.
And it's, I won't lie, it's an opportunity to market and sell stuff because everyone's thinking that way.
Right.
But I got to tell you, on the other hand, if someone was really going to ask me seriously about a New Year's resolution, I'd probably tell them to stop making them.
Good one.
And I'll elaborate on that a little bit from a holistic nutrition standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
So food is really, I'm a little biased because I'm a nutritionist, but food is really the most important thing because it's our fuel.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
So you want the quality of your fuel to be not only energy, but you also want it to be therapy for your body and your well-being. Mm. So when it comes to doing a New Year's resolution, if you're thinking of doing a resolution or making a positive change, I'm all for that, and I would highly encourage that. However, what we really want to do, and the best New Year's resolution I could recommend to anybody, is to just free yourself from all of society's things, right? Mm. Let go of the diets, let go of the confusing marketing, and just liberate yourself and make a resolution to just stop resolving and just figure out where you can start to improve the quality of nutrition you put in your body. Or in other words, improve the environment that you provide for your body so that it can heal and thrive and do what it needs to do.
So give up all the distractions of whatever and just pay attention to your body, the C word.
That's right.
Right.
And the big secret nobody tells you is that your health, your well-being is a continuum. So you might be feeling like you're going backwards, like you might be getting some new diagnoses from the doctors, like maybe you've just received pre-diabetes diagnosis or something like that. Or you may be thriving and moving forward. Maybe you're on a kick where you're training for a marathon or something like that. Mm. No matter what, these conditions are all an outpicturing of the environment that you created for yourself. Right?
Right.
So you don't need to wait until the beginning of the year to decide to improve where you're going to be on the health continuum. You are where you are right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being almost dead and 10 being ageless.
Right.
You might be at a 3, but you can decide to do one thing to improve your environment, improve your behavior, and that'll move you a little closer to the 4.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's my advice in the New Year's resolution discussion, is just make a resolution to stop making resolutions, stop being a participant on society's marketing yo-yo of diet products and diet trends and seasonal stuff. And I mean, even the holiday season in general, we tend to hang ourselves out to dry a little bit. And if you follow Ayurvedic or Eastern wellness teachings. This time of year, we should actually be hibernating and chilling. We shouldn't be running around trying to make everybody happy, getting into debt, and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at with New Year's, and I'm happy to support anybody who wants to take that on.
That's a good approach, Harvey. And it's interesting because I haven't set such a resolution for years. I haven't done it for years because I never followed a plan. And come, September, I was working around, school children all the time. So that was my alarm to really pay more attention to my health, because as far as supplements and all the different foods I would be eating in the winter months, we're like bears. Like you said, we should be hibernating, but we tend to eat more during the winter months. I tend to, because I was paying attention to that, I'm going to eat less of this, I'm going to eat less of that. I'm actually going to bicycle in the cold versus, I'll just ramp up and burn off energy like that. But I don't think people, like you said, they just need to get away from the distractions of, society, what society puts on you, because a resolution can start in November. In fact, I think it should start, if you're going to do that. Hey, start in November, right before Thanksgiving, right before all the food stuff starts, right?
You could start right now. You could make a commitment to do something right now, between now and Christmas Day,
and you'll be good,
and make a serious positive impact on your health.
And you'll be
and
really
still
good,
enjoy Christmas Eve dinner or whatever you have coming down the pipeline. Another thing that is important to remember is that just like our signatures don't match and our thumbprints don't match and we all look different, we're actually metabolically all different.
Right.
So there's no one-size-fits-all diet. You're talking about how you tend to eat more when it's cold. Mm-hmm. There may be someone else who actually tends to eat less.
Right.
And they don't know why, or they can't make sense of it, right?
Right.
And having said that, doing a detox might be perfect for someone at the new year. It might be a great way to kickstart. After having done the holidays, they might want to kickstart the year. But kickstarting the new year with a detox is a different context than I'm going to do this resolution and change my life because it's January 1st.
Right.
Because unless someone's guiding you in the right way and you've got a realistic pathway for yourself, there is a statistic that there's a certain amount of resolutions that tend to fail.
Now, I'm glad we're talking about this because, you mentioned, we all are very different. We're very different. So what may work for this person may not work for you, So, folks tend to get caught up into, let's say coworkers, oh, I'm doing a diet here, I'm doing a diet. Well, that diet's for her. It's not necessarily for you.
That's right.
Juicing is for him, not necessarily for you. Right. You have to figure those things out for you first, and then move forward on what works for you.
Well, nutritional facts are based, hopefully, on a set of evidence, right?
Right.
Which could be backed by clinical studies or clinical experience, or I could have experience in my practice that's documented. So there are facts and truths. We know that red peppers are a very high source of vitamin C.
Right.
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 However, we don't really know from let's say a macronutrient perspective. So we're talking about your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, which is what most people in our society tend to focus on.
Right.
We don't really know if your body likes to eat more sugar and can burn it and use it as opposed to someone else's. That's why you have the perfect body stick ladies at the part who can eat anything on the buffet at the holiday party. And they can never seem to gain any weight. And then you have the other woman, and I'm using females as an example.
Right.
The other woman who is constantly trying to lose weight, who feels like all she does is eat carrots and she can't seem to lose any weight. Well, what is the explanation for that? Unfortunately, society has us believing that it's the actual person's fault. The way everything is marketed to us. It's done in a way, when you look at a magazine, that magazine, I don't want to sound cynical, but by and large, these marketing people are trained to figure out a way to make you feel bad so that you'll buy their stuff.
Right.
And that's just business.
Right.
I'm not saying they're evil people or anything.
No. And
that's
not
just
just
the fact of it.
Not just them. I mean, everyone does it. In every industry, they do it to make you feel bad.
In my industry, there are trainings for nutritionists where we, make our clients feel urgent so that they will hire us for more stuff. In every business, there is some kind of, customer management system where the customer is going to feel a sense of urgency or a sense of loss or something like that. So let's be honest about that, right? But if you're aware of that, then you can decide what kind of participant you want to be in that discussion. Right. And if you really want that dress and you really want to fit into that dress because that's something you want to do for yourself, that's one thing. That's a lot different than you want to fit in that dress because you feel like there's something wrong with you if you don't fit in that dress, right?
Right.
So putting it in perspective, learning to love yourself, give yourself a hug, those are really the core basics before starting any New Year's resolution, any diet program. And then, of course, the nutrition facts stand no matter what. You can learn the facts and learn how to use them to your advantage, right? You become empowered over the facts, then you don't need to follow diets anymore. You learn about your own body, you learn to love yourself, you learn what facts work for you, and then you move forward.
Right. So Harvey, you, I know we were talking about this a little earlier before we started to record, that you went through some weight gain, weight dropping, or just kind of fluctuating around with your own weight for a great deal of your life, right? You were. This is how you kind of gotten into the whole nutritional.
Yeah. Well, what we were referring to was something just recent that was just a little weight gain. It was normal weight gain, not a big deal.
Okay.
But no, my story is basically I was one of those kids that was pretty skinny, and then I got into my late 20s, and I started getting chubby, and I was a chef, and I drank a lot, and I ate whatever I wanted. I didn't really care about nutrition at all, which is kind of funny that I'm talking about it now. And then I got to a point in my 40s when I was starting to decline. My health was declining.
Gotcha.
And my career was sort of hitting a ceiling, and I didn't feel satisfied, and I wanted to do something more meaningful.
And it wasn't until you hit that 40 point where you're like, holy moly.
Yeah. Luckily for me, because I was a chef and I love food, that was the first place I started when I went to improve my health, and that's what catapulted me into this new career. Smart. So I've been studying and learning and growing my practice ever since.
So smart. It's always good to hear the origins of where good guidance is coming from. And I use the word guide because it is what you do. You guide people to teaching and preaching. We've seen what that does. It doesn't work for people. But a guide, someone who actually really knows or has been through it.
Well, it's interesting you should say that because the original definition of doctor was to be a teacher.
Yeah, I knew that.
And doctors nowadays don't, well, maybe naturopaths do, but most medical doctors don't really teach.
They don't teach.
They pretty much prescribe, and that's fine. Again, when I say things, I'm making reference to facts. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with anything.
Right.
But that's their mode, and people don't get taught anymore. And when it comes to nutrition, I believe that we should be teaching nutrition to school kids the way we teach mathematics, because that's the most you can know everything there is to know about anything.
Right.
But if you don't have your nutrition down, if you're not fueling your body properly, you're never really fully in control, right?
Right.
And so I think that's like the most empowering thing you could do for children would be to teach them about nutrition. So that's all I do in my practice. I just basically learn. We spend the first couple of sessions learning about the client, learning about their body, their objectives. We do some clinical stuff, to questionnaires to kind of figure out what their body likes, what it wants to be fed. And then after we get that figured out, I just basically I just teach them the pathway to better health, and I just lead them down the road.
Now, are you doing this for children as well? Are you doing this for any school children?
I would love to work with school children.
You know what?
But I really am not.
I think there's something in this because, as you're talking about this, I'm just reflecting on, my upbringings in, elementary school. We had the school lunches and whatnot. So the food, when I was growing up in the 80s and 70s and 80s, it was pretty good. It was good food. It was well rounded. You know, you had everything, and every day was different. But nowadays, I mean, I saw the gradual change. I saw it all change. You know, snack machines came in, sodas. You know, all the stuff that we were at home, we didn't get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
you're not getting the Snicker bars.
I think kids are just getting a bad rap these days in general. They're just getting, their lives have been hijacked by...
It's been hijacked.
By, what is it now? In the 20s of the amount of immunizations that children now get.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, I think you got 3 or 4.
You got a booster shot.
And what is that? I mean, why is that exactly? What is the actual explanation for that? You know, it's probably business.
It's business.
Yeah, and
I think
that's my hunch. And then, you know, just the food supply. Our food supply has also been pretty much hijacked, and the average American parent has no idea where their food comes from beyond the store shelf.
Right.
So we really, as a society and a critical mass, we have to begin to heal our relationship with food, heal our food supply, understand that it's actually quite fragile and that it's all cause and effect. Right. If we poison our food supply or try to profitize our food supply to the extent that we're compromising on its therapeutic value and its energetic value in our bodies, then we have a problem, right? Then we have to ask ourselves, well, what's more important? More money or better health?
Right. Now, in your studies or your learnings with various clients and people, are you finding that the millennials are more in tune or kind of out of tune when it comes to their knowing these things? Because they're, you know, let's say just 10 years ago, you know, a lot of things have shifted in the whole food, you know, arena to regards of gluten-free, you know, vegans and whatnot. Are you finding that the millennials are wanting to know more about, you know, because they're actually the children of folks our age,
right?
You know, so
well, I have a millennial son.
There it is. So you can speak on this.
And I have millennial clients. So millennials are definitely woke, right? They're awake.
They're awake.
And that's good. That's a good
very,
thing.
Very good.
On the other hand, the thing about millennials is their entire existence is wrapped around digital technology.
Right.
So there's a gap between their desire to act out what they're conscious about and what tools are actually available to them to make that happen. So I'll give you a perfect example. I have several millennial-aged clients who desire to be vegan. However, either they don't feel right, or something's wrong, or they're not losing weight, or they're not sure, and it's because they've become conscious of the benefits of being vegan for whatever reason. Sometimes it's ethical reasons, sometimes it's health reasons, sometimes it's a combination.
Right.
Whatever that's about for them, yet they haven't gained access to the insights so that they can do it in a way that actually supports their body.
Gotcha.
So I love cases like that because I'm able to teach them, first of all, respect where they're coming from and why is it you want to be a vegan, and let's make that your foundation.
And
then
you're not just jumping on the bandwagon somewhere.
Well, let's do what you really want to do. What does your heart want
right.
you to do? And then once we get that figured out, then let's figure out how to make sure that you get the best nutrition in your body possible based on those principles, right?
Right.
So I believe millennials have an opportunity to take that awakeness and do some amazing... I mean, millennials can change our world because they also have amazing spending power.
Right.
And one thing I explain to my clients is the only way to change, if you don't like the condition of the grocery store, then you have to tell the grocery store that with your money. Because money runs everything in the society.
Right.
And when we can dream of a utopian society where money doesn't exist or whatever, right? I mean, we all have our opinions about that. Right. But the bottom line is, the reality is, it's all money. And so if we are settling for what the grocery store gives us, then we're not really taking a stand for what we want.
Right.
So that's why I told my clients, or I advise my clients, to be very serious about where you grocery shop.
This is true.
If you go to Ralph's, which now has an organic section, yay.
Yay.
Well, Ralph's has an organic section because the market twisted their arm.
Gotcha.
Right? Whereas Sprouts, and I'm not endorsing I'm not here to advertise stores. I'm just giving you examples.
Right.
Sprouts started out their store with the mission of having better food.
Right.
Right? So do you want to give your money to the guy who had to have his arm twisted, or do you want to give your money to the guy who actually started with the right mission in mind? Right? So that's just something I ask people to ask themselves. When you go out to grocery shop, don't take your food for granted so easily. Be serious and take your food seriously, and show your food supplier that you're serious about where your food comes from, what their motive is for giving you certain kinds of food. And you wouldn't just marry anybody, right?
Mm.
You wouldn't marry the guy who's just giving you song and dance. You want the guy who's really got your heart, right? Or woman. So so I went off on a tangent there.
No, that was good. Accessibility, because as you're talking about this now, we're in the heart of downtown LA, in between the Staples Center and USC, the USC campus. And what you can't help but to notice, anything you want to eat fast is right there. Every restaurant you want to eat is in walking proximity. They used to have a was it Erewhon?
Yeah.
There was a really nice, and I'd known I wouldn't travel that way. I would go to Smart and Final, and again, we're not endorsing grocery stores here, but because Smart and Final was more accessible, than Ralph's and all these other stores, and then I discovered this. It was like, oh, this is like Trader Joe's, the organic stuff, the options for stuff. And then they closed it down. And I'm like, well, what is students supposed to do?
Well, they closed it down because they weren't making any money.
Because
that's the only reason they closed.
Well, I don't think a lot of folks knew about it. They didn't make it really, look over here. You can buy organic food and groceries and blah, blah. Once I discovered it, I just kept going. I go there one day and it's like, oh, we're closing down all the stores. But they continue to build all the coffee shops, all the stuff that's bad for you.
Well, marketing is an amazing thing.
Oh, I just finished binge watching Mad Men.
May I say any word on this podcast?
You can say any
people will buy shit on a plate if it's marketed to them effectively.
Right.
So, and kale. Let's take kale as an example. Kale, actually, before it was famous, is, depending on which doctor you ask, but it's up there. It's, according to Joel Fuhrman, who has a very extensive scoring system for the nutrition density of foods.
Right.
It's the most nutritionally dense, complex food on the planet.
Kale?
And guess what? It has been for a really long time before we ever made it trendy, right?
Wow.
But now everyone eats kale because it's marketed so well, right?
Right.
And it's all, when someone asked me about celery juice the other day, which I wasn't up to speed on yet, but apparently there's something about celery juice that's fabulous. Well, it's probably just because it's got great nutrients in it.
Hasn't celery always been that way?
Yes, it
Celery's always been that way.
Most vegetables, actually.
Oh, my God. And this is... I like this conversation about food because, like you said, we started in the beginning. This is where it starts. If you don't have your nutritional wellness, if you don't have all that together, what's the purpose of everything else? Mm-hmm. What's the purpose of all the technology and everything that you're doing to create wealth and whatnot? I mean, we've had so many examples of millionaires, billionaires getting to a point and then, everything halts because they weren't taking care of themselves or they couldn't. It was too late.
Well, right. It's tragic. And life is precious, right?
Right.
I mean, life is this amazing miracle.
Right.
And, I don't know about anyone else, but I want my life to last as long as possible.
And you want to be in the healthiest condition possible.
That's right.
What's the point in... I never... And this sunk in very early in life, what's the point in retiring and you can't even walk or, do what you want to do at that age? And my grandmother and her brother are a great example for me because, they're in their 90s and they eat really well. They grow their own fruits and vegetables. They hunt. They go out fishing. They're active, and so they're not the poster child for what happens when you reach retirement. You want to be. I'm like, I want to be like my grandmother.
That's poster child in my book.
You know what I mean?
What everyone. It's the old paleo argument, right? Which has a lot of credibility when you think about how we're genetically designed as humans.
Right.
Modern food, the way we get it now, has only been happening for a little while. It's only been about 100 years or so.
Right.
So we are not genetically designed to have food delivered to us and fed to us.
No.
We're not even genetically designed to drive and get our food.
No.
We're genetically designed to go out and work hard all day long to either find a meal or grow a meal or pick a meal off the field or whatever. So are we all going to go out and give up our careers and become hippies and, plant rosemary on Figueroa Street? Probably not. That's not realistic. But you can keep that in mind when you're looking at how you're going to approach your day. For example, that's why I gave up my car.
Right.
Because that's a way for me to keep my body moving and breathing fresh air and stuff like that. That's a choice that I made.
Right.
And it works for me, right? There's lots of ways to incorporate movement and exercise into your life, which is also very important. I want to get back to the Erewhon thing and the Erewhon going out of business at USC and the whole economic thing. So they went out of business probably because they weren't making enough money. It's usually the only reason a company closes something down.
Right.
And there's this. There's two parts to that. There's the thing about healthy food's expensive. Yeah. And then, so that has I have like two things about that, right? So healthy food's expensive, but if you try to go out and buy as much as you can on your budget, try to get as much of the healthy stuff as you can, right? You don't have to, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Just do what you can. The more people, the more demand there is for those foods, the more the price is going to come down.
Right.
It's supply and demand.
Right.
The other thing is, healthy food's expensive, but so are a lot of other things that we waste money on in life, right? And I'm not saying we're wasting money, but we spend a lot of money on crap. We just do.
Literally crap.
Yeah. Like when I moved recently, I sold my house in LA and moved up to the mountains, and it was almost nauseating how much stuff we had accumulated over 10 years. We spent 3 weekends purging stuff.
Oh my God. Well, look at my space. I'm into purging right now. We do buy crap.
And I was like, some of the stuff, I never remember why I bought it. It's insane. So it's just a question of priorities. And from a healing perspective, from a holistic healing perspective, when you put your money down and commit to something on that core level and make it a financial and scheduling priority,
right, you
have already begun the healing process.
That's a good start.
On a core level.
It's a great start, too. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really great start, too.
And then when you make excuses or say my insurance doesn't cover that or whatever, then you're not actually doing true healing because you're not participating, right? You're being more of a victim in a way, or a bystander. Right. So in order for true healing and true meaningful movement to occur, you have to really get in there. You got to put your skin in the game. So I say buy the expensive groceries.
Buy it, and it's not it's not as expensive as people think.
No,
and we're chefs, so we know where to go and how to buy. We actually know how to buy.
Well, there's little tricks like community supported agriculture where you can go visit different farmers at the farmers market, and they have the monthly fee, and they bring you a box.
Right.
You can join co-ops. There's government programs if you're really strapped for money.
There's a way.
And we're all paying taxes into that stuff, so you might as well, if you qualify, go get it as far as I'm concerned.
Might as well. Harvey, this has been an awesome interview process. See how time just flies like that?
Thanks for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, man. So I'm thinking even in the nearest future, we have like you in, once a week, twice a week, whatever, just a routine drop-in to get people on board, because I believe the thing we talked about earlier about children, knowing these things they need to know it now. It needs to be a class, a workshop. I don't know if there's, the LA Trade Tech is right across the way. There's another tech college type of place, school. But I'll go through the brochures. I don't see much about wellness and nutrition. So I think that needs to be pushed. Like you said, it should be right there with math and science and government and history and the whole nine. What's the purpose in learning all that stuff if you haven't gotten to the core of your whole existence?
That's right.
Makes no sense. None. This has been awesome, dude. I'm glad you came by. And I'm looking for the future. Let folks know where they can find you. HarveySlater.com.
Yeah, that's the best place to start. My basic website is HarveySlater.com, and on there you can find my recipe and lifestyle blog. You can find my online school where you can grab a course on how to do a detox or how to go plant-based, or you can set up a complimentary little phone session. Little coaching session, get on the phone with me, we could talk about stuff.
Way cool.
See what's going on with you.
Way cool.
Thanks.
You good with anything else? Numbers, shout outs, anybody? You good?
Yeah, I just want to say happy holidays and, enjoy it.
Does it feel like Christmas? Sunny outside? It's a trip with living in downtown
Well,
LA.
I've been living in LA my whole life, so this is perfect Christmas weather to me.
Like, you talk to folks in the East Coast, you California folks, you got 90-degree weather in December. It's like, well, that's what we do. That's what we live in.
Yeah, my idea of Christmas is sitting in the cold ocean on a surfboard and looking up at snow on the mountains.
And we can see the snow in the mountains.
Yes, you can.
The snow is right there.
That's one of the awesome things about living in Southern California.
So cool. So sorry, you non-Californians. You should get here, at least visit, see what it's all about, see what we're about. And I, just living in California, I'm a Californian, so it started in Northern California to Southern California. This is all I know. I've traveled about, but I've talked to folks on the East Coast, and they're going, well, we don't have all the fruits and vegetables that you guys have accessible, this, that, and the other, so we have to have it grown in. I felt sad for those folks. I was like, oh, really? It's like, because we have so much of it, so I can't get enough of it. Well, maybe you should move. Get to California. Stop banking on this. Dude, it's been a pleasure. And look how time flies when you're having fun. This has been the Intelligent Human Voice Podcast Network. I'm your host, the PatMan, from the Bay to LA and beyond. Harvey Slater is my guest. Thank you again, brother.
Thank you.
And this won't be the last, so to the future.
All right. Later.
All right. Peace and love.